it being on the cusp of, is this proper art, or is this just collectible fancy posters?
Hello, print friends, and welcome. I'm your host, Miranda Metcalf, and I release weekly episodes with people around the world who share our love of printmaking. If you like what we do, please rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference. Or just tell a fellow print friend so they can enjoy it too. We also have a Patreon page where supporters can join at tiers that start at just $1 a month, and that all helps keep us bringing you printmaking content every week. You can also get thank yous like exclusive merch as well as bonus content. Shop talk with our editor, Timothy Pauschak. These are quick and dirty tips and tricks with our guests about materials, processes, business advice, and general studio nonsense. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can check out the link in the show notes and hear Tim's chat with today's guest. You can save a little cash too by signing up at a yearly subscription, and that'll take 15% off the tier price. Printmaking forever, shun the non-believers. Hello Print Friend is brought to you by Speedball Art Products, who've been offering a diverse range of high-quality products to your practice since 1997. Products like their line of professional screen printing tools. Speedball believes that professional-grade quality doesn't have to ruin your budget. Their aluminum squeegees, scoop quarters, and high-count mesh screens are perfectly suited to outfit your workspace without changing your books from black to red. So if you want to upgrade your space from hobbyist to pro, head on over to Speedball's website to see where you can pick up your new favorite setup. There's a link in the show notes. My guest this week is David Sullivan, a cheeky Brit who found his way to Bali and started Blackhand Gang, a world-class printmaking studio in a tropical paradise. We'll talk about coming to printmaking through collecting street art editions from artists who went on to be household names, building a print shop in the middle of a pandemic, and working with a beer garden in your backyard. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and prepare to learn who Banksy is with David Sullivan. Hi, David. How's it going?
Hey, Miranda. Good to catch up again. Thanks for setting this up.
Yeah.
On my wet Monday afternoon here in Bali.
Exactly. We talked to
like
people.
A rainbow and a ray of sunshine. So the rain is tertiary to my moment right now.
Yeah. Well, it's saying we talk to people all over the world, and we rarely get to chat about having the same weather because it's certainly a rainy Monday afternoon in Bangkok as well. So it's nice to have some familiar surroundings to connect us. Yeah. So
to dispel the myths. Dispel the myths for all your global listeners that Asia isn't all beaches and sunshine.
Yes.
It's right now wet, a bit miserable.
Yeah, it's definitely not always a postcard picture perfect, although it can be postcard picture perfect for sure. For sure. Yeah. So I was introduced to you through our mutual friend, the wonderful Kirikang Tilakwatanotai, and was really introduced to the fact that you're doing something pretty exciting and starting a studio in Bali, as you mentioned. But before we get into specifics, would you mind introducing yourself and letting the world know who you are, where you are, and what you do?
Okay. Yeah. Well, it was that magical connection with Kitty Kong over in Chiang Mai in Thailand that put us in touch. So he's a very special man, which we might be talking about a little bit later. And it's just one of those beautiful aspects of such a nice kind of global community around print that people are open to help support and develop others and not closed to look after their self-interest. And he must be one of the bloody nicest people I've ever had video time with, because he was very generous and just sort of actually put in his mind to how he could help our situation. And one of those things was to connect with you, which has also been a lovely experience so far. So thanks to Kitty if you're listening in. Really appreciate the connection. A little bit about me. So I'm a Brit from the UK, and spent a lot of time in London, but not my hometown. And studied the creative industries and found myself in a very nice career with big brands doing marketing and communications and specializing mainly in advertising. And so I had this kind of bit of a Peter Pan lifestyle for my early to mid career, where I was playing with other people's budgets and doing nice, fresh, creative projects with them, and working with some really fantastic people. So my background is the creative industries. So harking back from London, I was very lucky enough with my work and my career to get some great relocation and travel. And so I bounced around from London to Sydney. I was then placed in Geneva, and then engineered a relocation to San Francisco. And that was really a bit of I call it one of my kind of second home cities, and really loved the place. But then in 2008, there was an economy crash, and I got one of those golden tickets that says you're being made redundant, which really was a bit of a golden ticket in itself, because it just gave me a chance to start a second life and do something different with the path that I'd already been on for a while. And so a year of really both feet into backpacking and scuba diving and enjoying Southeast Asia, I ended up in Bali, and that's where I'm based now. And so bringing time 11 years into the future to today, I'm here with our printmaking studio, Black Hand Gang, and we've actually only been open for just over a year and a half, and we're a printmaking facility focusing on the fine art of the medium, with really fantastic facilities in a shipping container venue space that actually has an old teak wood traditional house on top of the shipping containers. So it's a real mixed up space of kind of the craft of a wooden house and the industrial vibe of shipping containers with a print studio inside. So it's a really nice.
So cool. Like when we got to talk before and I got to see the video tour, it's such a neat idea to be able to bring that historical craftsmanship of Bali and then the real practicality of reusing shipping containers that you see in more contemporary architecture. It's such a beautiful, unique space. So I highly encourage anyone to poke around or go find an image of it and go visit, of course, when you can, because it looks like an amazing space.
Yeah. Super lucky to have found it and been able to renovate it to what it is. And also has a nice little beer garden and sort of like a creative hub, community vibey space about it. So really chuffed with what we've done with the space and with the facility. And many stories about why we've set this up and how we went about it in this last year and a half, because I guess some of the print studios you talk to are these fantastic, well-established entities that have been going for decades, and we're really new kids on the block in a new neighborhood for print. And so a lot of interesting anecdotes and stuff about how we've survived our first year and a half.
Yeah, because I was going to say, okay, a year and a half, huh? What else has been going on in the world for about a year and a half? There's something, I have this sense that there's also been other kind of global factors, right? For about the last 18 months.
I was just peeling off my second month on my wall calendar, and then there was a little knock on the door, and old Mrs. Rona stepped in, uninvited, I hate to say, and kind of knocked us a little bit sideways with our plan.
Yeah.
And so in your third month of new enterprise, new business, I'm backing this project as a passion project for me. So I'm committed and have put time and money into this. And so it was a bit of a unforeseen global situation that everyone's having to get their heads around and look at how they can kind of pivot businesses and resources and people's livelihoods and that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, because the model that you were looking at for Black Hen Gang was bringing outside artists in, correct? And of course, you want to engage with your local community, and there are incredible artists all over Indonesia, but, Bali is an island, right? And it's an island that people like to travel to. So it seems like a natural fit to invite artists to come to a place that's beautiful and warm and make art. And then all of a sudden that became more complicated. So how did you sort of take that on logistically, but, also emotionally, to ask you a very sincere American question and sort of, keep your chin up and, decide that like we're here, we're going to make this work and we're going to get through to the other side.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I wasn't planning to have to deal with amongst all the other things trying to deal with a new project, right? So we, just to give a bit of background really as to what was the origin of the inspiration for doing this, because it's pretty interesting and kind of might fill the colours of the picture a bit better.
Yeah.
And so, being a Brit and growing up in the UK, kind of, print was always something which you consider to be a classic fine art medium. It's just up there. There's lots of great history about it. I remember like nostalgically being a kid, lying on the living room carpet, and my parents had a MC Escher book. And so, I'd spend my summers just staring at these amazing graphic prints of sheer kind of wonder and awe of the artwork. But then, subliminally that kind of seeping into me that these are prints and these are things that are made through this kind of this interesting medium. And then I also had a big love for Gustav Doré, who's the artist who did a lot of those like biblical prints, and so really kind of stark interpretations of religious text, but it would be like men wrestling lions on cliff edges and stuff like that, or god rays with angels and swords. So stuff like that was always just a art scene that I always thought was super interesting, and used to buy books about it. And then the final one really was taxonomy, which is the scientific drawings of botanical life or scene before photography. And so they'd have fine art illustrators, and then to reproduce those, they often did prints. And so kind of indirectly, I've always been a lover of artists that have used print to publish their work without perhaps overtly saying I'm a print medium lover.
Right. Yeah.
And then something happened in I think it was the early noughties in London, and there was a collective called Pictures on Walls. And they were abbreviated to POW. And it was this like little online shop, super lo-fi, selling street art original editions. And so there were all these cool street artists I used to like Mode 2 and Iron, and even the band Massive Attack used to make some artwork and stuff for their albums that they had printed. And so me and a bunch of people in my office at the time, we'd get into kind of this affordable art thing, not knowing that's what we're doing. We're just buying art. We have £100 spare this month, and that's an awesome print, and I can have it on my dodgy little apartment wall. Mm-hmm. And then to that site's credit, they also had an artist called Banksy.
Oh, who?
Yeah, and so this was very early career for him. He was definitely more than just a street artist, but he was very real, very very visibly doing stuff around the UK and doing more installation type pieces. But I've got friends who probably have several original prints from his early works that they were like £100.
Mm-hmm.
So none of us were thinking of this being we're collecting things for future investment. We're just enjoying the work and enjoying having these kind of original pieces of art to decorate our homes and to sort of talk about because we were into it.
And that's the absolute best way to collect, and as someone who's been in the commercial side of the art world for quite some time now, I always come back to that when you get collectors saying, well, is this going to go up in value? Or, what's the guarantee on the return of this investment? And you just have to say, like, you can't think about it that way. Like, if that's truly what you want, like, go buy some stock in like a really safe, slow growing mutual fund or something. It's art has to be so much more than that. And there are people who have made fortunes through collecting, of course, but for the most part, if you buy what you love, you will never, ever, ever regret it.
Yeah. And more, much more than, other scenes at the time, like people buying vinyl toys and that sort of stuff. I would be much more in a secondhand shop buying someone's first ever painting that they handed off to the secondhand shop and sticking that on my wall next to my really nice original street artist print.
Yeah.
And, it was the self-curational exploration of kind of, becoming an adult and wanting to express your own taste in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was leveling up by spending a bit of money on these prints, but never really thought of it much more than just helping the artist. And it's really, really incredible quality print, in addition of a great piece of work. And that also struck me as well. There was one I had, there's a street artist called Ein, and he does a lot of typography on buildings, like very big scale. And uses super nice fonts, lots of kind of, I don't know, like old circusy type fonts. Very cool. I think he designs the fonts. And I remember having a print from him, and it was probably £150. And just every time I'd look at it, I'd just be in total awe of the colours and the depth. And it was actually on black, so I don't know now how he did that, but so they were it had a big impact on me as a part of the art scene, and really it being on the cusp of, is this proper art, or is this just collectible fancy posters, or is this just street art in a premium format? And for me, it was, I thought I had art on my walls. Mm-hmm. I really have it in the frame of that's art for me. And so I think that was probably my first real hands-on with actually owning some prints and actually starting to think a little bit more about the scene.
And I think it's such a significant point to dwell on for a moment or two about that power of self-expression through the work that you collect. And I remember noticing that and how it feels so different to come home to a space when what greets you is someone else's labor, someone else's craftsmanship on your walls, or if it's a 3D sculpture on a stand or a table or whatever it is, but that you've connected with personally, and that actually is a kind of affirmation you can come home to, I feel like. And it's not just a bicycle leaning up against the Eiffel Tower from IKEA that is on your wall because you don't want a blank wall, but really is something that you connected with. And I loved hearing you talk about, just looking into these fonts and how rich they were, and how you said it was £150, which is like not even a night out in London, I would guess, not by a long shot. And yet it's something that continually brought joy to you, or awe, or an aesthetic experience. And I wish that how accessible that can be and how it truly improves the quality of one's life was something that people understood more and more broadly, because I think it would, of course, infinitely help our mission of bringing prints out into the world and people appreciating them. But also I think it would make people's lives better. I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, I guess unconsciously we were what you would say now, we were young collectors.
Absolutely.
We're a bunch of guys and girls in our mid-20s collecting this stuff, getting really into it. And like you said, it's, I don't know if that, I think that site closed in, I don't know, like 10 years ago or so. So I think, I remember seeing the closure notice from them, because I guess they still had my email, saying, we didn't set out to be commercially successful, and we were just helping artists to publish works and people to have accessibility to that. And then, of course, certain artists on our roster became commercially very successful, and it just wasn't what we wanted to do. So they pulled it.
Wow.
And so, they were not victims of their own success. They were saviors of that moment by saying, we've done this, and we don't want to become what's going to happen next. And so they got out. Wow. And I think that's brave. I'm sure the founders and that sort of stuff have done really well out of it, and perhaps didn't need to keep it going, and have maybe, took other avenues from that opportunity. But I think that was a really nice statement of, they don't want proper collectors or galleries or people who aren't necessarily into the art buying it because it's got commercial value. Mm-hmm. And even though it was a bit upsetting to see they were closing, because I was like, maybe I could see what they've got to sell. I thought that what a gracious, dignified exit to such a cultish enterprise.
Yeah.
So I think
were they kind of an inspiration then for Black Hand Gang? Or did you have them in mind when you thought about setting up your own shop? Because of all the things you could do, why that?
I think so. I mean, I think, you may know it from me already, or from the name of Black Hand Gang, or, I come from a personal philosophy of self-expression and idiosyncratic behavior, and being a little bit disruptive to the conventions of the world, because I think that's a really interesting space to kind of live and contribute to. And so, I've worked in advertising for brands that look for that type of way to express themselves, and so it's part of my DNA, I think, is to be an individual and to express your own creativity and to be original in your choices, and don't follow conventions necessarily if they don't fit what you're pursuing. And so I think Pictures on Wall was very much a zeitgeist of the time, of people like me in London at that time, and reflected our mindsets and really rubbed off on us. And so, 20 whatever it is years later, I'm opening a print studio called Black Hand Gang.
I did want to ask about the name, by the way. Yeah.
It is what it is. It's definitely deliberately meant to evoke a sense of a sort of underground resistance, a club, something that isn't mainstream, but it's is about a community. And I'll break it down. So the Black Hand bit was really a reference to the tactile, visceral aspect of printmaking, right? You're going to get ink on your hands. It's a hand-based art. And but actually, Black Hand has some slightly darker connotations to it, which are deliberate, that I've chosen that without it actually meant to have those connotations. So to give it a little bit of an edge, the word Black Hand comes from Italian immigrant communities and the mafia in America, where someone coined the phrase to use Black Hand tactics was to extort and put pressure on people to bend their decisions or get money or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I found that quite amusing, because I liked it for the fact that your hands get inky. But then to have that as a Wikipedia insight, I thought actually purely playfully, isn't the art world just another form of extorting money from people? And so what is the value of art? And if Damien Hirst says this is worth lots of money, people pay lots of money. And it is ridiculous. And I find it kind of an amusing industry to philosophize about, and to have different points of view to kind of, to discuss those. And so it had that slight connotation, but only to entertain myself as a very playful gesture.
And I think it's very fitting then. Yes.
Yeah, but I have to obviously put some restraints on that, because not everyone has the palate for overly challenging conventions and disruption and the status quo of the industry's perception on the value of serious art.
Yes. So light extortion humor isn't for everyone. Yeah.
No one gets until I tell them. So it's fine, and it sounds cool, which is really important in naming conventions, I think. So I thought, the gang again is meant to be just playfully saying we're a collective of cool people who are taking part in something that might create a movement, and I feel it's way more interesting than saying Bali printmaking studio.
Right. Yeah. It's a bit catchier, and I feel that like Bali is such a place that has looms large in people's minds, right? They come with a lot of associations with it, and so to have this sort of Black Hand gang, I feel like it's really putting what you're doing forward first, and then added benefit. It's also in Bali, by the way, Yeah.
So but saying back to those the challenges of that name, obviously I have to our vision was to really be a proper fine art studio, not just grassroots printing and anti-establishment street art. Like, we can do that and want to do aspects of that, but also want to do serious printmaking, serious fine art, and be accepted into the Indonesian fine art community, industry, and leaders. And so that name, doesn't perhaps fit the conventions as, and so that I think gives us, for me, I like it. It gives me a bit of an edge. It gives the project something that says we have an opinion, and we're not a boring facility. We're interesting people doing an interesting thing. So check us out.
Yeah.
I want to be the tall poppy. I want to be the name. I don't, we're the black sheep, all those things, but in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And actually, it's been a real pain in the bum for things like Instagram, because for some reason in its beautiful algorithms, Black Hand and gang as 3 words mean bad things that we often get blocked because of sensitive content and all that jazz. So so thanks Instagram.
Thanks AI.
Thanks, so smart.
So to focus a bit on the studio itself for a moment, tell us about, we talked about how it's got this great architecture to it. It has a little outside gathering place with like a beer garden kind of vibe. What facilities do you offer? I think you do a little bit of everything, right? In terms of actual media that printmakers could do if they came to visit.
Yeah. We, the facility for me had to deliver on a professional, world-class fine art print studio. And so going back to, we couldn't really enter the space as too grassrootsy or single technique focused or just doing vivid, illustrative screen prints. Like the goal for me was, we need to genuinely deliver on a fine art print studio, and that for me is, you've got to show the diversity of the medium. You've got to show the ancient techniques, the modern application of those, all the different styles available. And so we have a press. and we have a screen print table and an exposure unit and all the gear to do, I think every single technique. So it's pretty much covers the breadth of the medium. Yeah. And so for your listeners, there's a reason why I did Black Hand Gang. So having that background of print appreciation and consumption of contemporary art, and sort of really living here for 10 years in Indonesia, and being a great lover of the burgeoning contemporary art scene here. Big art fairs in a city called Yogyakarta that are, real calendar events in an Asian contemporary art scene. So there's a really strong last decade in contemporary art here. And then for me, with a sort of very casual inquiry into, I don't see much printed works. And then I pursued that a bit further and realized that the only presence for print here is some facilities in the academic world and some single technique type grassy roots, very small studios. Maybe there's a lino cut one or a screen print one, but again, quite small and quite narrowly focused. And I go to these shows and I don't see printed work. And I thought, hang on a minute, if we get the right print making talent and we set up the right facility and we connect that with this incredible contemporary artist community, with these big art platforms at the fairs, we can do something really additive and really progressive that no one's yet done. And so I could just feel this kind of huge black hole where print should be. And so that was the kind of, whoa, this is a opportunity. It's a little bit scary, but if I make the right connections to have a partner to help set up a good facility and to be able to oversee the printmaking, we'd start joining these dots, and that is really exciting. And so that informed, we got to make sure that we represent print in a very balanced and clear way, to give it the best way to frame it when we announce it and start to promote it to the art industry here. And so the facility really had to be cover everything and be as good as we can make it. And so the day we opened, by default, we became the leading print studio in Indonesia. And it's the
Congratulations.
fourth biggest country in the world.
Yeah.
Population-wise, I mean, it's madness to think we were the first to really go for it. But then that's why I was giddy with excitement to sort of go all in and say, this is my time to contribute to something here, not just consume creativity and art. Maybe I can actually do something and not a personal legacy, but make a change.
Right.
And start new opportunities. And so here we are.
And I really appreciate what you're saying too about knowing that if you're going to start to try and forge this space in quite a large contemporary art scene that Indonesia has, that you will have to do it with a very high degree of proficiency and professionalism, because I think, as many of us know, people who listen and people who come on the podcast, it can be a bit of an uphill battle with prints if you're interfacing with someone who thinks art is painting and sculpture, and that's it. And so, to be able to show them something that's been produced at such a high level and the real beauty and the craftsmanship and the skill that goes into that, it is going to go a really long way to finding your place at the table. And it's just wonderful that you have the intentionality behind that to get it done. Yeah.
I think you nailed it, really. I mean, unfortunately, it can receive that second-class citizen fine art medium status label. And because it hasn't been professionally represented here, it certainly does have that perception. And so, I'm an optimist. So I was like, wow, fantastic. Let's blaze the trail and show people and really go for it, because I know it is. I mean, it's not hard to just, go online and check it out around the world and go, wow, it should be. So why is it not here? And what's the map for us to navigate through to get it there? And so, totally naively, I don't have a background in printmaking or running studio facility, and didn't let that weigh me down. But something I've inherited by doing this project is the whole uphill task of trying to put print medium on a pedestal to be considered as an equal medium in the fine arts to some negative cynicism, or whether it's paper-based works aren't valuable if it's not oil on canvas. And no one having done this, so they don't really have much exposure or kind of ambassadors who are also sharing our voice. And so we sort of stepped into this arena as a bit of a lone entity. And but for me, it's like, that's why we have to do it as professionally as we can, because I think we have an obligation to and an opportunity to really have an impact.
Yeah. Have you tried the line that I would sometimes use on people, where they would be like, prints, like what, like who does prints? Like what is that? And be like, oh yeah, only like Pablo Picasso and Rembrandt and Lichtenstein and Francisco Goya and Paul Gauguin. But yeah, like who does prints, right? like I think that sometimes people don't realize how it used to be completely the part of every well-known artist practice, is that, maybe you weren't a printmaker solely, but you had prints made, which were a completely respectable and maybe more accessible, but a big part of one's art practice. And sometimes a very big part of one's art practice, with someone like Picasso or Rembrandt as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was also a bit of a light bulb moment for me when, because I'd set our project's vision to be really looking at the fine art end of it and looking to provide an opportunity and a platform to really raise the profile of print within the wider contemporary art scene. And so totally acknowledge grassroots printmakers and printmaking communities, I think is a very special world. It wasn't really where I was focusing, because there aren't printmakers here. Like that as a model is something I will continue to do over time, but isn't the primary thing we were looking to achieve. And our vision was, let's connect existing established contemporary artists here and introduce them to the real world of the print medium with a facility, with the supervision, and help artists to access the medium and express themselves through it. Yeah. And so like you're saying, it was just, one of the avenues an artist can use, and here they just haven't had the ability to do that, so they just haven't been able to pursue it. And so that was like a wow, so really for me it was probably the moment where I had the biggest smile on my face, where there's a couple of big artists in the studio, and they're just kind of getting their first briefing on etchings and carborundum and some of the techniques. And these are like big artists here that traditionally paint on big canvases and sell very well and are very successful in all the fairs. And I'm just watching these guys, like this sort of explosion in their eyes as they realize they're discovering a completely new medium, which is limitless in its opportunity to create and express themselves through it, through the painterly styles of a carborundum or something like screen printing, or a combination of different styles all in one piece. And the moment I saw was as if you've just given a child a paintbrush for the first time. Yeah. And just that moment of, wow, just been given a key to a completely new world of creativity, and seeing that in someone who knows their stuff about being an artist is rare and a real special moment. So that was like, okay, like my job here is done. Keep that happening. The magic will just make this work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really sounds like it. So how did you go about building your team of printmakers? Because you said you yourself are not a printmaker. I am not a printmaker. We were both in the printmaking fangirl camp, print advocate world. So of course, if you're building this world-class facility, you also need talented artists to come in and help facilitate other artists making work. So how'd you go about that?
Yeah, well, we actually came across a gentleman who used to lecture in print at the ITB University in Bandung. And he was really, I guess, the thought leader of fine art print for Indonesia, sort of recognized as he studied in Canada, a supporter of chemical-free based printmaking, and has a very good academic and practical knowledge of all the main techniques. And so he was a real unique character who was sort of stuck in a role which wasn't using any of that talent. And so I came across him through an artist friend, and that was one of the ingredients in the formula of how to. So I brought him in to help spec out the facility and set up the facility and oversee our sort of first 6 months of printing. And so he's been great as kind of our starting talent to get us off the ground. And now we're actually in a position which we talked about quite recently, which is we're recruiting. So I'm a great believer in opportunity. And so without the structure of jobs or predefined positions, we're for mid to senior printmakers globally to come, and whether that's like a guest placement, they want to come for a few months and hang out in the studio, use the studio in their own time to do their own works and contribute with the team for some of the projects that we have, and figure out whatever the terms of those arrangements might be in terms of financial support or time, trade, and that sort of stuff. And so I really feel we're in our second phase of the project, where I think we need some fresh minds, some fresh eyes, some fresh hands and talent and experiences to come in now and to start looking at the projects that we've got and the space and facility and get involved.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like an incredible opportunity that I'm sure a few ears definitely will perk up when they hear it. But it sounds like if someone's interested in perhaps coming even for, as you said, like maybe an extended period of time, like a couple of months, they should reach out and send you an email or reach out on Instagram. If someone is interested in exploring that, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
Instagram. Mm-hmm. Our Instagram has on the link tree like a application form. You can send stuff through that, and just contact us, because, like I said, it's deliberately not structured, because I think as soon as you start structuring things, you start creating obstacles for people to just get in touch. And so much rather just like have conversations and just chat and just figure out what's your situation and what are you looking for, and do we have aspects of that also we match each other's needs, and then there's a happy union. And so those things I think are better freestyle.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice attitude to take towards it, because I think sometimes people just automatically jump to I need to create parameters, or I need to create boundaries or borders in some way because it'll make it seem very important. If I put a limit on it, like, you have to have 5 years of teaching, or, all these different things that they start to close down in order to make it seem more valuable. And I just love the attitude of let's just have a conversation. Can we both get something out of this? And that's just a beautiful way, I think, to interface with the printmaking community, and really lovely. And I certainly hope that people do get in touch and get a chance to meet everyone at Black Hand Gang and see Bali and see the facilities, because it sounds like it's a very special thing that you're building there.
Yeah, me too. No, I mean, but thanks. I think it's just the smart way to go, right? And of course, it's like what a crazy upside down world we're in right now with travel.
Yeah.
People are having a tough time all over the world, and so we need to get talent in, because right now we've got projects that need printmakers to help support us on, and I want to see the vibrancy in the studio of different experiences and different personalities and different aesthetical or technical or just interests, and create that kind of community here. I think would be great. And I don't know, like, because I'm from the UK, I can say this, but if I was stuck in my hometown and I've had a really tough year and a half, spending some time in a really nice reef we are in the world.
Mm-hmm. And so, do you know at all? And it's the kind of thing. If this episode comes out next week, things could have changed. But currently, what is the travel situation like for international flights to Bali?
Well, it seems to change on a monthly basis, as a lot of countries are going through at the moment, and as people may. We're in first week of August, so right now there's these delta waves in Southeast Asia, Thailand for yourself, and Indonesia are having a bit of a tough time. So right now, I don't believe there's international flights coming in unless you've already got work permits and have been based here and that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. But about 5 weeks ago, you could have.
Yeah.
And so I imagine within the next few weeks, hopefully, that restrictions will be lifted again. And, Bali's a really unique place within Indonesia. So it's a tourism-based economy and a great source of revenue for the rest of the country, and helps in lots of different ways to support Indonesia. And so they are very, very focused on getting Bali back on track and restarting the economy here, and they can't do that unless they open the borders to foreigners.
Yeah, I think we chatted about that last time, that the same way Thailand's really trying to get like Phuket and Koh Samui off the ground, they're really putting the same kind of energy into Bali, it sounds like, in terms of trying to get at least an island safe enough to bring in people from around the world, because Indonesia and Thailand are both places that something like 20% of their economy was based in tourism. So there's a lot of, just a lot of suffering, basically, a lot of poverty and people losing jobs and shutting down shops, and a lot's going on that motivates people to try and open up borders as soon as it's safe. So hopefully that will be soon for many reasons. And it's like I said, I really hope people get in touch, because it sounds like you're providing a really wonderful opportunity. And as you say, I'm also from a rainy, dark, cold part of the world. And if I had to spend a lockdown winter in that situation, I would be very much looking for beaches and coral reefs as well. Yeah. We're reaching our recording mark here. So you mentioned getting in touch through Instagram. Is there any other way you'd want people to reach out, even just to say hi or to see the work that you make?
I would say Instagram is still the first port of call, because from there, with the good old link tree, there's links out to our catalogue of portfolio of work and exhibition programs that we've made, and we do have a good website, which is blackhandgang.id, blackhandgang.id, and there's loads of stuff on there as well.
And that's the Instagram handle too, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, check it out, and if anyone's interested, just like I said, just drop us a line, and let's go from there.
That sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much, David, for joining me this rainy afternoon for both of us. And
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're going to stick around with your printmaker, correct, for a little bit of shop talk with Tim.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, all right.
Well, thank you again. It's been great to catch up and to learn even more about what you're doing there. I certainly hope that we get to see it in person sometime soon.
Yeah, I really, really would like that.
Beautiful.
That'd be great.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, Miranda.
Yeah. Well, that's our show for this week. Join me again next week when my guest will be Jakub Reyes. Jakub is an amazingly talented printmaker who uses found objects to explore personal identity and the ongoing effects of colonialism. You won't want to miss it. This episode, like all episodes, was written and produced by me, Miranda Metcalf, with editing by Timothy Pauschak and music by Joshua Weber. I'll see you next week.